Hey, Hosanna and friends, Pastor Dennis here, and I am with Haddie and Lindsey and Holly, and we want to tell you a little story. But let me start with the story Jesus told. So Jesus tells a story pretty familiar about a farmer going out to sow his seed, and some fell in the pathway, some fell in the rocks, some fell in the weeds, and some fell in good soil, and yielded a 30, 60, 100-fold. So that kind of is what happens when you do a sermon or a Bible study or a devotion. You just never know what's going to happen. And so we want to hear a story from these folks about what happened when we did a series back in January, right? And it was on prayer. And the opening one, I shared an acronym, and the letter P stood for?
Pause.
Pause. And the letter R was for?
Receive.
Look at, we're making her do it all. And the letter A?
Ask.
Ask. And the Y?
Yield.
Yeah. So we want to tell you what happened because the seed was sown and some pretty fun things happened. So, Lindsey, why don't you start to say what happened when you walked into Haddie's room one day?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks after the message had happened, and I went into Haddie's room to water some flowers.
I was at school.
Yep, she was at school, and she has a desk in her room with a bulletin board on it, and on her bulletin board was a little sticky note with the acronym written out. And so I snapped a picture of it and sent it to Dennis, like, wow, you made an impact on Haddie. And it was pretty cool to find.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, Haddie, what were you thinking when you did that?
So I wrote it on there because I thought it was like something that I need to know when I pray. Like I just got to pause and just like calm down and just focus and stuff. So I thought it was something that I like need to know.
Wow, that is awesome. I think we all could probably learn a little lesson here, couldn't we? Right? I think this is why Jesus said, right, be like a child. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for letting that sink in like that. So what's it meant to you since then?
So I actually look at it a lot. And it also kind of like reminds me to pray too. It's like, oh yeah, that's right there. And then I'll like stop and do a little.
That is so awesome. And how I know that it kind of bore fruit in a whole, kind of in a different way for you.
Yeah, I mean, I love any time that an acronym or like a little mnemonic device can take an otherwise like abstract concept like prayer that sometimes we can get lost in our head of like, what even am I supposed to be doing right now when I'm praying? And it just brings it down into something that's a little more tangible and a little easier to follow. And I think along with having an acronym like the P.R.A.Y, a great tool for learning can be music. And I think that can kind of speak the language of the heart a little more precisely sometimes than just language. So I thought somehow it just made sense that we could make songs that are based on each kind of step of praying to make an even longer experience of pausing for multiple minutes and receiving and really dwelling in the receiving and spending time with our ask of God and then really spending time in that yield place.
Isn't that fun? I mean, sometimes I don't know what's going to come out of this mouth, right? And it's kind of scary. But sometimes what comes out does what we've just described, right? And in family, we were talking before, I think it's not only disciples getting the support they need, families getting stronger, really ties into all that so that we can go out, cover all three into our neighborhoods, make the difference they make, right?
For sure.
So, like, maybe you can make something like for Christmas out of P.R.A.Y and encourage others to do it. Well, thanks you all for taking just a few moments to share your story and pray that it's an encouragement to all of you, right, to pause and
Receive
and
ask and yield.
there you go. All right, God's blessings.